Good evening, and I'm going to call to order the September 15th, 2025 regular meeting of the Haywood County Board of Commissioners. And our first order of business will be our Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, our sheriff is going to come forward for invocation. He's not here. We may have to have a moment of silence. So, okay. Our deputy is going to take care of that. So, if everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you, Deputy. Okay, our next order of business will be constituent concerns. Does anybody have any tonight that they need to bring forward? I wanted to mention that this week, just probably need to get this out, Brandon and I are on the MPO board in Asheville. And this board is a transportation board that it's called the Metropolitan Planning Organization. And it's a transportation board that the federal government and state government use to have recommendations, and it's voted on before they do projects. One of the projects I've been trying to get implemented, or we've been trying to get implemented, has been to widen I-40 from exit 27 to Asheville. So in trying to do that, the DOT has done a study, and in that study they've come back and they are maybe proposing that we do, as we widen the interstate, that there may be tolls on the lanes that it's widened to, from what I understand. So in other words, if you've ever been to Atlanta, it's like 6 to 8 lanes, and so you have all those lanes that you can be in for free, and then you've got a lane that is express lane, which you pay a toll for. And it's never hard anybody in there. Every time I go down there, I wish I'd signed up for that. But anyway, and you can move faster in that toll. So they're proposing that, and the reason is a lot of people I've talked to say, well, what about I-26? They widened it. Why don't they widen, but I-26 was voted, basically approved, and the money was supplied in 2014. That was 11 years ago. And you see how long it has taken to get it built. So unfortunately, between 2014 and now, the DOT has two things that have affected its revenue. One of the things is a lawsuit that cost them $1 billion with a B. And that lawsuit had to do with, from best I could tell, had to do with right-of-way acquisition that the state maybe wasn't doing exactly properly. And so they had to pay back $330 million per year until that $1 billion was paid. So that lawsuit affected their revenue. And then, of course, a lot of people are driving electric cars. So gas consumption isn't as great as it was at one time. So, and the gas tax is not coming in like it probably would if you didn't have electric cars or whatever. But the General Assembly has not made provisions to make up that revenue, so the state has basically not kept up with the revenue and with the needs that we have. I know we sit on that board, Brandon and I do, and when they, it seems like when they talk about projects, it's all the ones they're canceling because there isn't enough money to do those, and all those projects are needed. And I know we really need the one going to I-40, especially with the closure of the mill, because a lot of our folks, like Tommy, have to travel to Buncombe County to work, and that's just, you know, kind of what we've gotten into. So anyway, we'll be voting on that on Thursday, you know, maybe to move forward with it. And like Brandon and I both have said, we don't like tolls, and I don't. And it seems like, you know, there's not that many roads. I know around Charlotte there is one. But I really want the road to be built. I think it's in our economic interest that we get the road built. I think it's in our interest to get it built because so our people can get to and from their work without having to sit in traffic. A lot of times the traffic backups are just that. It's because there are so many, there's so much traffic out there that you just can't go fast, or you can't go as fast as you'd like to. So I just wanted to mention that today. We'll be voting on that this week, and maybe if this goes out, and it's going to be going out, if people can call me or Brandon, let us know your feelings on it. But it's, I don't know when it'll be built if we don't do this now. But they did the study, and they had told me about it a few years ago, and I was like, well, you know, and I didn't know they were doing a study, but they had told me that they were looking at maybe doing something, and it might require a toll. So, but it would just, you know, you still have your free lanes, from what I understand. You still have your free lanes that you can travel, but the newer lane or lanes would be toll lanes, and they would be, you would just pay a fee, probably so much a year or a month or something like that, if you happen to want to use those, if that was, you know, to your advantage. So I don't know if you want to say anything or not, Brandon.
No, I mean, you've done a good job. I think the point is if you want to pay it, you can, and if not, then you could use the other lanes that's available, just like you would going through Atlanta or anywhere else. So, as the chairman's mentioned, you know, I'm open to any conversations on how people feel about that. I mean, I personally don't like tolls no more than I like taxes, but this may be something that's a good fit. So our other fellow commissioners and anybody else listening, I'd be open to any discussion about it, because we will be voting on it this coming Thursday, as you mentioned.
Yeah. I'm curious, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned the budget shortfalls with the DOT. Is that the justification for a toll lane because of the?
Well, they just don't have the revenue to build it, and so that was one of the solutions that they had come up with. If we wanted to go.
As you pointed out, it seems like, I'm not going to say every meeting, but a lot of the meetings we're canceling projects because the funding's not available. So as Kevin pointed out, with a lot of our folks, especially from Haywood County traveling to Buncombe County with work, you know, I talked to a guy last week that called his ex-employee of mine that wanting his job back, and part of the reason is because he's spending so much time, you know, and traveling back and forth on the interstate.
Now, I'm curious, the legislature a few years ago started to try to address the situation with the highway road tax, you know, gasoline road tax for electric vehicles. Was there any discussion in your meetings about some legislation or some solution for getting some revenue to fix roads? I mean, that's what it's intended for.
Yeah, and we really, the legislature sets the tax, so we really don't have a lot of say other than
pushing for it.
Yeah, pushing for it and everything. They look to these organizations, and they're across the state and the nation really, and for planning purposes, so they'll know what roads need to be built. And you know, a good example of one of the ones that they've canceled is the road going out here in South, you know, around Walmart. You know, that road was supposed to be built, and it never was because they didn't have the money to do it. I know there's a roundabout they were proposing where Raccoon Road intersects Pigeon Road there, going towards Bethel. They were going to put a roundabout there because when Crimes Cove comes in and Raccoon Road comes in, and you got a steep curve there, which you don't have a lot of good sight distance. They talked about doing a traffic circle there, and they nixed that also, which would have been a good way. That would have made that a lot safer if they'd have had that there. So, but those are some of the projects. And I know a lot of people might say, well, they're building all this stuff now, and I can tell you the Jonathan Creek Road widening project was from, it's a safety issue, and the reason it came to the forefront is because we had a good county resident, Claude Messer, lost his life, and he worked with the fire department, and he was going to a call that morning, and it was just, if you've ever been down Jonathan Creek, you don't have merging lanes to where if you want to turn, you just basically turn. And that's not the best way to do that. So they're putting shoulders in, and I know it's aggravation, but they're trying to make that safer, and it will be safer when they get done. So a lot of the projects have priority like that because it's a safety issue. So they do those. Those just kind of come about because they don't want any more fatalities, if you will. And we lost a great member of our community when we lost Mr. Claude. But anyway, those are some of the things going on. I know the other projects like Russ Avenue, I forget whenever it was planned and developed, but it's been a while ago. And then we've got the one at Lake Junaluska they're working on there at the industrial park, Waynesville Industrial Park, and that one's, they're working on it. So, and then the bridges that they're working on needed to be replaced on I-40, and those, what you're seeing them build now is to where they can shift the lanes. So you'll still have 2 lanes of traffic going each way, and they'll shift the lanes to where they can work on a bridge and not impede traffic with 2 lanes, and then they'll, of course, when that bridge is done, they'll shift the traffic to it, and then they'll redo the other bridge. So that's why that's why we have so many projects right now, and it's taken so long. But I don't know if y'all have any other, but that's kind of what I know, and it's probably not as much as I wish I had known, but. Anyway, I wish I knew more, and we'll know more. Maybe we can report at our next meeting on what happens and everything. So, but I would like to know other people's thoughts, if you will. But do understand that we can get the road widened, but you may have to pay if you want to go in the other lane. But you still got the 2 lanes that we've always got. So, you can use those. There's nothing wrong with that.
Clarify the mile marker. You said 27 to 44?
Yeah, to Asheville, yeah. Because that is 4 lanes. What is it, 5 lanes there? 6 lanes maybe? I think it's 6 lanes, yeah. Yeah, so it would be from, yeah. And really, in the future, they need to widen 2374 that goes to Jackson County because it's getting that's a dangerous road too, so.
And just to add to what you're saying as well, Kevin and I's just 2 votes on that board, which is a pretty large board. However, I think they'll be looking to us, since it is in Haywood County, for some guidance on that. So,
yeah, they will. Yeah, and Anthony Sutton, the Board of Aldermen, he is or council member, I guess they call it now. He is the chair of that group, if you will. So, so we've got some, several Haywood County residents, and I think Ralph. Oh, what's the? Hammett, yeah, Hammett, is that it? Ralph Hammett is Canton's representative, and I think the mayor in Maggie Valley is their representative, and I'm not sure who Clyde's is. Do you know, Brandon? I'm not sure if the Clyde, who's the Clyde representative on that?
Shoot, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think they may not participate. But we do have representation on that, so. Okay, I just wanted, just a FYI, okay, on that, so. Okay, so I'll move on unless somebody has anything else.
Just fight for no toll, but I mean,
Yeah.
Do what?
Well,
fight for the no toll
Yeah.
lane. But
what I want to say is that we've been decimated by this hurricane, so why don't you help us some more with this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the gorges, that you're just fixing your road back there. That's, but this one we need some help on. Okay. Okay, we didn't have anyone signed up for public comment, so I just want to make sure I know if I said that or not. Okay, under administrative agency reports and presentations, we're going to have the number one, the first one is an update on the HVAC and roof project at Waynesville Branch Library. Facility and Maintenance Director Tim Sisk and Library Director Kathy Vossler are here this afternoon to talk about that.
November 24th is our date for a hard closure for the entire facility. We plan for a solid 2-week closure with no activity whatsoever other than staff and contractors. Beyond that, Kathy has a plan to open, and she can provide some more information about services beyond that. The schedule that's been given us is likely somewhere between 60 to 80 days of construction work, roof and HVAC replacement. So having said that about the schedule, we can talk a little bit more about, Kathy and I both feel like we might have some middle school students that want to continue to come to the library during this time. So we have a plan to cordon off on South Haywood and Boyd Avenue, some of the orange construction fencing, essentially saying, you know, this is a construction area, we don't need students in that area. But outside of just the schedule, I'll just open the floor to questions on schedule, and then I'll hand the floor to Kathy.
Okay, so say that again about the middle school students. Are they going to be able to come there?
No, that's what we want to try
They
to.
cannot, yeah.
That's what we want to prohibit. And again, once we've made this announcement tonight, it is our plan to have some yard signs and get those in the ground sooner than later. Potentially reach out to Dr. Putman, talk about how we can notify those folks and work through some alternative areas for these students after school.
So they generally come up here and work on their homework until their parents can get them?
Yeah, according to Kathy, maybe 25 or 30 students on average daily, so we want to try to prohibit those students from coming to an active construction area.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing that we feel like our hurdle here is, Mr. Chairman.
And then what are the dates again?
November 24th is the target date for closure.
Oh, and then November 24th, they'll start the project.
The project's already started.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing everything that they can in the boiler room right now. We've got buffer tanks. They're welding in there today. They're doing all the work downstairs. They'll have boilers set. The electrical work will be done. All the pumps and plumbing. So the closure will just impact. That's when they need to get upstairs and work in that crow's nest.
Okay.
And we got to get equipment through the front door. Take the ceiling out. It's a pretty diverse project.
Then, so it starts on the 24th, and then when do you think it'll be over with?
Again, we've been given an 80-day window, but
Okay.
our Superior Mechanical they're doing a fantastic job. So we're hoping for a little bit sooner than that, but I don't want to sugarcoat anything. We're completely rebuilding the heating and cooling plant for that facility.
Okay.
And at the same time, the roof is going to go on it and revise all the drainage, the gutter and drainage.
Okay.
So all of this work will be done during that closure.
And that facility was built in 1980, I think, and so it's 45 years old.
Yep.
So it's about time.
It's all original equipment that we're heating and cooling with. Yep.
Okay. Anybody got any questions?
Okay, I'm going to hand the floor to Kathy
What
so
would
she
you
can
say?
talk about. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was for Kathy. I was going to ask Kathy a question.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey, so that will, 80 days would take us to maybe the first or the second week of February.
Yes.
And I know that you always know your numbers about door count and users. Is that by any chance an down season for the library?
It is. We
Okay.
typically tend to see decreasing door counts pretty much starting now as our Florida residents go back to their home state. So we'll continue to see typically declining door counts through February or March.
Okay.
So in terms of that, it's a great time to do this project.
The off-season?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was just going to communicate a few things. During the whole project, we plan to have our staff fully in place. During that 2-week closure, we'll still be answering phones during operating hours so we can assist anyone with placing holds, redirecting holds to other branches. All of our other branches will be fully functional. Also, the Haywood locker and the Fines Creek locker will be available for people to place holds and pick up holds and to return materials to. So while our main branch is closed, we're still fully functional in many ways, and I encourage our residents to check out some other branches if they haven't done so.
And so to the Maggie Valley, can you tell us the hours of the Maggie Valley location and the Canton, I guess the 3 satellite locations, and then also the lockers are located at Health and Human Services and at the old, I guess that's the old school or community center in Fines Creek?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the Canton branch is open Monday and Wednesday 9 to 6, and then Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday 9 to 5. Also on Sunday from 1 to 5. And then the Fines Creek branch is open Monday and Wednesday 9 to 5. The Maggie Valley branch is open Tuesday and Thursday 9 to 5.
So lots of access.
Yes. And we hope once that first initial 2-week total shutdown takes place, our plan is to reopen our Circle Drive at the Waynesville branch so that we can provide holds pickups and materials returns there, similar to what we did during COVID.
Okay.
Okay, so what happens to all the resources that are there, like the books and everything? Do you put those in storage, or do you just cover them up with maybe canvas or something? I was just curious.
Tim, do you want to speak to that? Okay.
Our mechanical contractor has ensured that they plan to bring in some additional air moving equipment and keep a couple of the small air handlers running while they're working on the larger equipment. And the plan is to basically build a plastic corridor from the front door into where they go through the ceiling, so the book collection will be protected in place. Yep, that's the plan right now. Yep.
Then what happens with your staff?
All of our full-time staff will continue to work. We do have plans to possibly relocate staff for brief periods of time to our other branches to conduct inventory, to do some collection management, to do some relabeling of books, that sort of thing. And then we hope to continue to guarantee our part-time staff a minimum number of hours because we do have some special projects that we'd like to work on that we can take care of during that time.
Great, okay. And then, will they be working in there when there is construction going on?
Yes,
Will
that's
they?
our
Okay.
plan.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Well, I like the way they're coordinating that off to where it kind of separates everything.
Yes.
So that's very good. Anything else, anybody?
Big project,
Yes,
long overdue.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for supporting it, and I think it's foundational to this building, so it's definitely needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
y'all.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you. Okay, the next is an update on FEMA projects and reimbursement progress. And our finance director, Christian Owen, is here to give us the bad news on that.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Right?
What you see before you is a listing of all the projects that are active in the FEMA portal. FEMA gives everything a category and then kind of a description of what the project is. Category B, lodging and meals for mutual aid, that was to feed and house all the responders during the EOC period of operations. That was $610,332.35. That has been obligated by FEMA, which is their version of approved, and it has been paid to us in late June. The second project is law enforcement mutual aid. That was for Clay County specifically. They did not go through the state systems where the state just took care of that filing for us. So what we did was we filed their time for their officers and got that reimbursement and paid that directly to Clay County. The next category is Category A, which is typically reserved for debris. For right-of-way debris, we have $1,072,388.67. That has been obligated by FEMA, which means it's been through their full approval process. It was obligated on August 15th. Then it moves to the state for their review and approval, and ultimately they'll pay us. It hasn't moved since August 15th when it was obligated by FEMA. Based on some historical timelines, I would expect to see, hopefully, see that money in about another month, just purely based on historical timelines. All of that could change with all the changes that we're seeing in FEMA this go-round. The next project is EOC materials and inventory. That is $98,426.51. That has also been obligated and approved by FEMA. The next one is the most impactful project. You'll see that it's for the waterway debris, and it's $13.8 million. That is assigned the status of pending application completion. That can mean a lot of different things in the FEMA world. When I did a little bit more digging to where it's actually moving through the FEMA approval process, our local grant manager assigned by FEMA has confirmed it. So what that means is she has looked at all of the initial documentation, which is primarily contracts, paid invoices, canceled checks. All of that has been provided to FEMA. So now it just works its way through their approval process. Based on some guidebooks I have found from FEMA, it looks like it has about 17 more steps to work through before it gets to the obligation process. I will also state that this go-around, FEMA is doing a massive push of request for information. They call it RFIs. There's probably about between 30 and 50 questions each time they send out RFIs. So this project is pending answering a lot of those questions. So it could be, quite some time before we see movement on this big chunk of funds. The next project is $19,546.80. That is private property debris. It's kind of in the same limbo as the $13.8 million. Next, we have 1206 labor and materials. What that means is that is the cost of the building inspections and the damage assessments that we conducted for all those damaged properties. That is a kind of a guesstimate and a placeholder as a dollar amount. We needed to assign it some estimate so that we could start uploading that documentation. The next two projects are emergency protective measures. One is labor and one is equipment. We do not have calculations for those just yet. That is the very, very granular process of adding up timesheets for all of our employees and their 214s, which is a FEMA form indicating what they did that was an eligible expense. So I would guess there's probably somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 214s for the people who actively worked during FEMA, whether it was at the EOC, the supply distribution center, the call center, all of those things that went on for an extended period of time. So that will take us quite some time to assign a dollar figure to. The next one is very similar. It's for equipment. It's for any county-owned equipment that we use during the response, whether it is, sheriff patrol cars, ambulances, a forklift to, unload supplies. So all of those have a FEMA assigned hourly rate. We have to calculate how many hours we use those equipment and complete a form for each piece of equipment. So once again, that is a very laborious process, but we will get there. The next Category B project is the cost for the shelter. We have to ensure that we have not double dipped on any reimbursement in that process. So that's one of the ones that we'll do, towards the end. We want to make sure that we've received any state reimbursement before we claim those funds towards FEMA. We lost a lot of road signs during Helene, approximately 80. So this is a dollar figure we applied to replacement of those road signs. And then the very last category is management costs. That will be all of our time and our contractor that we use to submit all of these expenses. That is up to 5% of all of the projects. As you see, we now set at 15.8 million, so that's around 790,000. We will see that number go up as we calculate those labor and equipment charges. So as of right now, we have 15.8 million in total projects. We have only received 623,000 in reimbursement, so we have 15.2 out there still to be reimbursed from FEMA.
Well, that's about 3%. I didn't really divide that out, but that's a drop.
I can put it into perspective a little bit. I had a meeting with Christian and Bryant before this meeting, and just a note I made. By the way, I'm traveling to Washington in the morning to the White House and to the FEMA headquarters, and that's why we had this meeting, to try to go over some of this stuff. But a note that they had made is, with a tax rate of 55 cents per 100, the unreimbursed amount is 15 cents on our tax rate. So that kind of puts it into perspective on what we're lacking. It's a little frustrating, as Bryant pointed out earlier. As a county, we have to have a balanced budget every year, and the federal government and the state don't have to. It's really unfair, but probably sounds like we're throwing some rocks, but I guess we are when we're owed this much money. We need our money, and we need it quicker. So just wanted to add those notes. So.
I appreciate you bringing these numbers to us. I'd spoken to Bryant about this. It's important for our residents, taxpayers, all of us, to see exactly where we are holding on the money, and that, anytime, hopefully we don't see that again for a long time, but anytime we have a natural disaster or something like this that we have no control over, that we're laying those, we have to respond. And I think it's good for us all to see that number, and that we are waiting on. I mean, FEMA, I think FEMA will do what they said they're going to do, and we did really well with Tropical Storm Fred as far as getting reimbursed. I mean, really, really well. But I think we have to be, aware that we've got that much money out floating around, and hopefully nothing will happen again, dip into the coffers. But one thing you said FEMA requests additional information. Who answers that? Is that your department that has to answer all those questions?
It's a combination. A lot of times it is a little bit of finance, a whole lot of our deputy county manager, especially the debris projects, emergency management and EMS jump in and answer a lot of those questions as well. So it's really varies depending on the nature of the question. And I will note, this morning I got an email from FEMA saying that all the projects in Category A, which is debris, is going to be referred on to the debris task force. What does that mean? I have no idea. I guess we'll find out when we meet our person, coming up. But hopefully that means they're going to expedite some of those debris projects, because regionally, that's where almost everyone's funds are tied up, is in the debris. That's the costliest project of all.
Another thing, Christian, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but speaking of the RFIs, we already had a project that was approved. The check is on the way, so we're getting reimbursed, and they still sent
Yep.
a request for information.
Yeah, it seems that their system is just press a button and an email goes out, because we receive a lot of duplicate emails. I think I get a daily email reminding me that there's a deadline of 9/28 for all of these projects. Of course, we'll have to request an extension because we just don't have all that information yet. The work is not complete. But those RFIs for each individual project that you see listed, they send out the same boilerplate email that's, like I said, 30 to 50 questions just over and over. And, debris is debris. It's all the same answers, but we have to answer those each time we get an email. So it's very inefficient.
Christian, could you speak to how Helene compares to Tropical Storm Fred in relation to the FEMA reimbursement schedule and your experience there with Tropical Storm Fred and how it correlates with Helene?
So we spent less than $5 million for Tropical Storm Fred. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. Out of that, I think we had $76 that was denied by FEMA. That was it.
Great.
We did see some payment lag with Fred as well, but there was not the upfront delay like there is with Helene. Like, we're getting, immediate kickbacks with all those RFIs, those requests for information, that just really slows the process down. We did not see any of that with Fred. We saw some projects get tied up at the state for Fred. I think they had a lot of turnover, and we were seeing approvals take 150, 180 days to move from the state, but it wasn't on the FEMA side. It was on the state side during Fred. And like I said, things went through the approval process a lot quicker, which it was on a smaller scale as well. So,
Well, as a taxpayer, I can appreciate the federal government wanting to justify cutting a check to Haywood County, because there's a lot of fraud, and there's a pot of money out there, and there's all kinds of nefarious people wanting to get their hand in that pot of money, and that's why we have these checks and balances. So I would like to see it come in faster too, but I do understand the need for justification. But I do say that thankfully, with the help of our county manager and this board here, we've and your help, naturally, we had a good rainy day fund, and we fronted some of this money. We did that last meeting. We took that bridge loan to help us, bridge the gap, and so I'm optimistic. I think when Brandon gets through with them up in Washington D.C. tomorrow, and he winds their spring really hard and gets on Chuck Edwards and Ted Budd, and Tom Tillis, I think you're going to make a difference, Brandon. I mean, no pressure, but there's $15.2 million here that we need.
I'm going after it.
Okay.
I told him, I said, the only thing I care about leaving with is a check.
See me after the meeting. I'll feed you some red meat and get you all fired up before you go. So.
one thing also worth mentioning, you see that, most of our money is tied up in debris. We went with a pre-positioned state contract for debris, which means our contractor and their monitoring service has been vetted already by the state and by FEMA. So you would think that would equate to less red tape on the debris side, but that's not necessarily the case this time.
I understand. I think the magnitude of destruction, the magnitude of this disaster,
Agreed.
it's got everybody, backing up a step or two.
Where are we on the debris pickup status right now? Do you have it? I was just curious.
As a percent of complete, I'll have to get something from SDR. We moved to that state SMART program where the state took over. So as far as keeping apprised of the percent, because we aren't involved, I haven't got up-to-date data, but I can get that for sure, and I'll report it back at the next meeting.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. And then we need to also say that, you call it EWP, and that's debris pickup later.
Right. Right now, it's the emergency stream debris removal. Really, anything that's upstream within a certain, limit of 1,000 feet or whatever they're using of a bridge or water intake or culvert, something like that. The more thorough project will be EWP, Emergency Watershed Protection. But to my understanding, that's not been funded at the federal level. So we're still awaiting funds for EWP.
So hopefully if that's funded, then they'll be back in the creeks again or in the areas picking up debris that maybe didn't qualify for the first round.
Correct. But like I said, that still has not been funded. That's something that we're hopeful of, but right now we can't say.
I just think we need to say that often, loud and often, that because it's frustrating, but that's the way it works, and I just want everybody to know.
I know some of our neighboring counties were able to clean the entire river up all at once, because they was dealing with the Army Corps, and that is a frustrating part, that we couldn't do that. And as we discussed earlier, part of my frustration too is we can't fix the river like it needs to be. There is rock bars in the middle of the river, and the middle of the river in a lot of areas is higher than the banks. So, as I said earlier, it's not if, but when the next storm hits, it's going to be even worse. So, again, part of the fight, the message I'm going to take is, we need to be able to clean the entire river up. We ain't been able to do that in quite some time. So, I think that's important.
I think one of the challenges for us is that, and I say this kind of, light sometimes, is that who would have ever thought in the mountains of western North Carolina we would have such a vocabulary for hurricanes and floods, and who would know that we would be so well versed in that. And so when we, our coastal counties in the state and, all up the seaboard there, they're used to this kind of storm, and so it's difficult, I think, for folks who make decisions at higher levels than us to understand how impactful the damage to the river is, because it's so different than what we expect on the coast. So you've got a big message to carry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Putting it on you, Brandon. Okay, I wanted to thank, Christian, I want to thank you and your staff, and as well as, I think you said Chris has a lot to do with Chris Boyd, and I know our department heads, our emergency management, Travis. Y'all have your normal jobs that you do, that you got hired to do, and, that's enough. That's what but this is a huge undertaking. And I just want to say, from this commission, and I know the rest of us do, we appreciate all that extra hard work, because you've got to educate yourself, because if you don't, and we don't do it correctly, we may end up having to pay for it, and it costs our taxpayers. Mm-hmm. So I just want to give you a thank you, and I know you all have worked really hard and probably had to learn terms that you didn't care about, like Jennifer's talking about. You basically, we have to be versed in all that, and I know Bryant's pretty versed in it and y'all probably are, and you too, Christian and Chris and Travis, from the Fred, we've had that to deal with. So I think I felt like we were, ahead of the game. And, when Brandon was talking about the Army Corps, we tried to get the Army Corps early on. We were, and they ignored us. And so that's why we didn't get them. And I hope everybody understands that. We would like to have had them. I think we really did. And Bryant knew that early on, put our name in the hat, and they just ignored it. And that's why we're where we are today. But I think the group we have are doing the best they can within the parameters that they have to work in. Army Corps probably don't have as many parameters as they do, as their people do that are having to do it now. But we did try to get them for this project. So,
something else is in the heat of the moment, in the moment of when you are responding in an emergent situation, you guys are still having to keep track of everything we're spending and make sure that it's documented correctly.
Yes.
And as quickly as we want to, just as humans want to respond, there is that element of keeping track and keeping up with everything
Yeah.
we've done. Otherwise, we can't get reimbursed for it.
Exactly. If we don't have proper documentation and follow procurement processes, then we don't get reimbursed.
That's right.
So we don't try to slow things down, but sometimes we have to stop, take a breath, and say, we got to have this or we won't get reimbursed.
That's right, yeah. So that's being very mindful of the taxpayers' dollars, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's a big job, for sure.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. Well, thanks a lot,
Thank
Kristen.
you.
Thank everybody that's had to deal with all this. I probably missed out a lot of people that I should have thanked, but I know a lot of people have been working. Okay. Our next order of business is the discussion adjustment of the agenda. I don't have anything. Does anybody else? Okay, the next order of business will be a consent agenda. We have 8 items, and I'm going to say, once this is passed, hopefully, I would like for us to go down front. We're going to, item number 7, we have David Cushion, he's the Grand Marshal of the Grand Lodge of Ancient and Free Accepted Masons of North Carolina. And his organization has donated $10,000 to our EMS to purchase approximately 500 emergency weather radios for Haywood County residents in flood vulnerable communities. And so we want to thank him for that and come forward. But before we do that, I just want everybody to come up here in the front, if you would, the commissioners. And Dylan's going to direct us wherever he is. Yeah, there you go, Dylan. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on the consent agenda? I guess I should ask that. Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Okay, second, there's a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, so if you would, let's just take a minute and we'll go down and thank you, Mr. Cushing, for, or is it Cashin? Cashin, I'm sorry. Okay, it's Dave Cashin. I should probably also mention, in the flood, Dylan Huffman and Allison Richmond and Gina Zachary did a great job. They're the public information officers, and they did a great job getting information out for folks and getting us all, keeping us, a little bit straight and getting word out to the media, even though that was tough to do whenever the communications were down like they were. So. Okay, the next order of business is the regular agenda, and we have to request approval of a contract with Allies for Outcomes for permanency planning, social work needs for workforce, and changes in process to meet increased caseloads, vacancies, legal and other demands, and approval for the county manager to sign all related contract documents. And our Health and Human Service Agency Director, Ira Dove, is here, and also Gayla Jones. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We're asking that you approve a contract that will help us with child welfare team capacity building. This contract has a bunch of components. Right now, we have about 143 children in foster care. We have a team that has some vacancies on it. You probably read about that in the Mountaineer. We have a team also that has some newer workforce. So what we're trying to do with this contract in part is it's a development contract. In part, they'll look at our processes to try and make us more efficient with our capacity. And in part, they'll supply some workforce so that until we can get some of those vacancies filled. So it has basically three components to the contract. And that's what we are looking to do in one piece of our child welfare area.
Okay. Anybody got any questions on that?
Child welfare is just something that has continued to grow, you know, unfortunately. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on in our world today, and it seems like every meeting we have, the numbers keep creeping up more and more. So it's definitely money well spent.
Yeah, and we had to spend a lot of money on foster care and everything. If you want to be a foster parent, I guess they just check with you, Ira, or Gayla.
If anybody wants to be a foster parent, yeah, if they can call our front desk at 452-6620 and just ask for any of us, really. We can direct them in the right way to try and get their license and stuff.
Great. That's great. Yeah, we need you if you would like to do that, foster parent. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion if there's no questions.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you, Ira
Thank you.
and Gayla. Okay, number 2 of the regular agenda is to request approval of a budget amendment for HHSA $644,108 to appropriate fund balance for various HHSA program revenues that were received and unspent in fiscal year 2025. And Finance Director Christian Owens will
Here
talk to us about that.
with all the big numbers this evening. This is for various HHSA programs, primarily related to child support, foster care, adult services, child services. We roll these funds or these revenues over each year. We get the numbers calculated in January. It's kind of an estimate. We have to true those up and then roll them forward for the next fiscal year. So this allows the funding for those programs to be carried forward.
Okay. You may have any questions for that. It's just a rollover.
This is all rollover funds. This is nothing new to
This is nothing new, no. It was all approved last year, and this is just the unspent portion that we're rolling forward.
Okay, is there a motion to approve item 2 of the regular agenda? Okay, is there a second? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you, Christian. Okay, item number 3 is to request approval of proclamation recognizing September as National Recovery Month in Haywood County. Via Health Community Relations Regional Director Shelley Foreman.
I
Hey,
definitely
Shelley.
need to get taller.
Yeah.
Barely see over.
Pull it back. We need to put you a little stool
Let
out
me
there.
move over. Well, first, let me say thank you for having me this evening. I have to say I am the Community Relations Regional Director for Via Health, and that's part of the reason I'm here tonight. But I'm also here as a proud Haywood County resident, as well as someone who has had the absolute pleasure of working with so many partners in Haywood County to support people in recovery from substance use disorders. From your role with local government and the support you have always given to not just VIA, but to learning about our providers, to supporting recovery efforts in the community, to the work, it's yeoman's work that Health and Human Services does, both with DSS and public health, to help people move towards their recovery, as well as many providers, community organizations, individuals who are peer supporters. So I'm here because this is something that VIA sort of put forward, but it's really on behalf of so many who really do support folks in their recovery from addiction. I have a copy of the proclamation. I don't know, because of the way if it's written, if it's appropriate for me to read it or for you to read it. Okay, because I didn't want to presume. All right.
No,
Do you want me to go ahead and read it? Okay, I'm going to have to put on my glasses.
Okay, thanks, Shelley.
This is a proclamation recognizing September as National Recovery Month in Haywood County, North Carolina. Whereas substance use disorders affect more than 1.2 million people in North Carolina, regardless of race, gender, age, or socioeconomic status. Whereas these individuals are our friends, family members, colleagues, neighbors, and in some cases also ourselves. Whereas with treatment and support, substance use disorders can be overcome and healing is possible. Whereas during National Recovery Month in September, we recommit ourselves to increase knowledge and understanding of substance use disorders, to lessen stigma so people realize that help is available, and to show our support for those in recovery and those working to achieve recovery. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Haywood County Board of Commissioners proclaim that September is National Recovery Month. The Board of Commissioners encourages all individuals, organizations, businesses, and groups recognize the impact of substance use disorders on our community, raise awareness of treatment and recovery supports so residents can access the help that they need, and to strive to create a county where everyone has the opportunity to heal and be well. We affirm that during National Recovery Month and throughout the year, hope prevails, and recovery is always possible. So that is the proclamation. Again, we know that substance use disorders touch each and every one of us in some way, shape, or form. So that is my request of you tonight.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you for a heartfelt.
Yeah.
I attended a recovery court, and it is great to see someone turn their life around. It's great to see someone. It's great to see someone turn their life around. And through recovery, and the programs are out there, and I'm glad that some of those are taking advantage of them and trying to, break their addictions and get on with being a productive citizen again.
And it's possible. We see it every day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So, but thank you for all your hard work, Shelley. I know you've been doing this a long time.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to say anything too? Okay. Anybody got anything?
I would just like to say that it is true that addictions touch every family. I don't know a family that has not had it touch them somehow. Some worse than others, quite frankly. They lose children and parents, and it can be it touches everybody. So it's important that we lean into trying to help, to help these folks. I know my opinion of this has changed greatly since I have been on the board, and I have seen it, like I said, touch the wealthiest of families and, I guess the poorest of families in our community, and it escapes no one, so.
Shelley, thank you for that presentation. And as the chairman mentioned earlier, I'm a blue-collar worker. I worked at the paper mill for 25 years and got displaced. And through partnerships, regional partnerships, there was some job openings in the adjoining county, and a lot of people I worked with are gainfully employed now because of networking and things of that nature. So, but I was amazed. I work in a production facility, and there's a young woman on a particular piece of equipment I'm tasked with maintaining at times and working on it, and I was continually amazed at the production records this individual set, and works tremendously well, just a model employee. And I have very few problems when this person's actually operating the machine. And I was over here 2 or 3 weeks ago and had a problem, and we were diagnosing the problem, and the operator came over, and young ladies, we were waiting on the process to be complete and see if we had made the proper adjustment. Had a little small talk, and this person, I was commending her on her job performance, how well she run the machine and set records, and she was quick to tell me that she had been through a recovery situation. She had made some mistakes in her life early, and that she was tickled to death to be working and getting a good paycheck, and a very good employee. As a matter of fact, probably one of the best. But I would have never connected the dots if she hadn't have told me. But she had been through a recovery process, and I would have never known it. So yes, there are great success stories, and this work is important work.
And those are the stories that help build hope for others as well, you
Right.
know, and that's just wonderful to hear.
Shelley, I was just talking a while ago about the foster care. That's one of the reasons we've got so many kids in foster care and stuff. And every one of these programs, they don't only help the people, but they get these kids out at foster care. You know, if the parents get straightened out, get their kids back and stuff. So I support all the recovery efforts we can give them.
Yeah, and I, of course, won't speak for Ira and Gayla, but the rate of addiction, I've heard just in general, you know, it used to be you might see families for a variety of different things, but it's just increasing. And the wonderful thing is, if you can get those families the treatment they need, then their family can be, you know, stay together, and kids don't have to go into foster care.
That's great. That's great. Okay. Any other comments or questions for Shelley? Okay. Yeah. So I'll entertain a motion. We approve item 3 of the regular agenda.
So moved.
Okay. There's a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Guess unanimous.
Thank you all so very much. I had planned on my next visit being to give you an update on everything happening both at the federal level and the General Assembly, although we don't know. There's a lot of we don't knows, but I will hopefully be back in the next month to give you an update on what we know about how federal and state budgets are going to impact our health and behavioral health services.
I was going to mention that the state and federal government have just, they kept cutting your funding to the point that, you know, we have a mental health crisis. We see that every day. We saw it last week.
Yeah.
You know, with somebody assassinating somebody for no good reason, other than they disagreed with them. And so it's important that we get funding to try to keep people from getting into that situation. So it's more important than ever that we, you know, that the federal government and the state government come back to where they used to be to try to help folks.
I mean, the providers can't survive.
That's right.
You know, if they continue to, their funds continue to be reduced and reduced, they can't compete with people who have private insurance. So, you know, we manage Medicaid and indigent care, people with no insurance. So hopefully in the next few weeks, I'll at least bring you back what we know is happening and what good things are happening in our region. So.
Yeah. Well, it's just like the example Tommy just gave.
Yeah.
That lady was probably had an addiction issue, And now she's one of the most productive persons at Pratt and Whitney, which is a great company to work for. And she's giving back to the community in tax revenue. She's probably making a good salary and everything. So, and she's out probably promoting recovery, if you will. So it shows that, you know, it doesn't always take. It does pay back, you know.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, next order of business is appointments, and we have a request to approval of the reappointment of Amy Russell to her second term on the Greenway Advisory Council representing the town of Clyde.
The only thing I would add, Mr. Chairman, is that the Greenway Advisory Council met on July 22nd, 2025, and recommended Ms. Russell to her second term.
Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion. We approve Amy for, she's also a council member in Clyde.
Make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Okay, next, we need to go to closed session. And can I get a motion to go into closed session per North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3? This is attorney-client privilege regarding Joseph Jones and Angelica Hendon versus Haywood County and others. It's case 25-CV-00292-MR-WCM.
I make that motion, we go into closed session.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay,
One thing before we do leave the dais here, on October the 2nd, there's going to be a viewing of the film Rising Above Helene. It'll be October the 2nd at 5 p.m. at HCC Auditorium. Just want to put that out there in case you don't hang with us while we're out on closed session. It was put together by NCACC. It's a documentary of all the counties in Western North Carolina that were impacted by Helene, and it'd be worth your time. It's a very professionally done video, movie, whatever you want to call it. But it's a documentary, and it's great. Also, we're going to be having the service on September the 27th at 9 a.m. Just to reiterate that, remembering, on the anniversary. So,
yeah, thank you, Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be right here in front of the courthouse.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That documentary's worth watching. I saw it down at the convention. It's really good.
Very good. Okay, so we'll be in closed session when we get to the chambers in the back. Okay. Okay, we've returned from closed session. Is there anything else that we need before the board needs to be discussed? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. We adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, we're adjourned. Everybody be safe.